Hello, cats and kittens. Orewa Jose Yoroshku. I'm back in the Crisis Corner with the Crisis Corner question of the day. Can DC or Marvel Comics truly ever reset their universes or reset their publishing lines? Now, why do I ask? Well, recently I was watching a video by Owen Likes Comics. He had an excellent video on the rise and fall of Marvel's new universe. I highly suggest you check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. And it got me to thinking, Jim Shooter, legendary EIC of Marvel Comics, at what I consider to be the height of my reading experience with Marvel Comics, not Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four was coming to the end of a great run. A lot of other stuff they were doing was excellent at that time. And he wanted to introduce a new line of characters to run either parallel to the ongoing Marvel Universe and perhaps at some point maybe even supplant the existing universe. In hindsight, almost an insane idea, given the fact that now Marvel's universe, their characters are about in their early 60s in terms of the years of their existence. DC Comics in their mid 80s. These characters have been around a long time. And we see constant attempts to try to reinvigorate them, reset them, to try to update them for modern audiences, as they say. And Jim Shooter's attempt to do so in the 80s really is what was the forerunner to what we now see as the Ultimate Universe and all these other secondary universes that exist with Marvel and DC Comics. The difference being that, again, he was trying to run a completely parallel universe without Spider-Mans and Fantastic Fours, whereas now, with the Ultimate Universe, they're just younger versions or different versions of the same characters that we already had. Now, this is as opposed to manga. If you read Shonen Jump, you may get a book like Bleach, but you'll get it for like 10 years, 10, 15 years. Then Kubo taps out, he's done, and he'll go on to either publish something else or he may revisit it again later. But you basically get that creator's run for as long as he has something to say. Now, there are long-running mangas. Go-Go 13. Go-Go 13 has been running since 1968, I believe. Ongoing, semi-monthly, I believe. There are other Prince of Tennis. I think there's some other ones off the top of my head. I can't think of a lot of them, but there are some that have run a very long time. They're the anomalies. And just recently, another thing that triggered me on this line of thought is that one of the top 10 selling mangas at this current time, My Hero Academia, is about to shut down. It's about to end. It's coming to an end of its run. You couldn't really get that with American comics, especially with DC and Marvel, because over the years of their publications, they made a point of illustrating that these characters exist in a shared universe. As opposed to if you read Shonen Jump, you can get One Piece, you can get Naruto, you can get Bleach, and if any of those stories, if the writers finish their runs, Shonen Jump's going to keep going. They're not dependent on any one character to prop up that book. It's next man to the plate, next man up. Eventually, somebody's going to come up with a really high creation, and the ball keeps rolling. So there's a difference. So it's not an apples to apples comparison per se, but with the ongoing notion that American comics, some of our bigger heroes, some of our bigger titles are getting stale. A lot of these characters are not what they were when they were created. For instance, Batman. Batman started off as a cross between the Shadow and Sherlock Holmes. Now he's like a demigod that can beat God Almighty with prep time. For better or for worse, because some people like these stories. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the stories that are being told right now. I'm just saying that they are a far departure from what they were originally intended to be. And that also goes along with the nature of um, company owned characters as opposed to creator owned characters. Um, with DC and Marvel, a lot of those creators are either dead, retired, or no longer in control of their properties. So they can't influence how they're being handled at this particular time. But would DC or Marvel ever look at the landscape of their characters and say, uh, it's time to shut those down and start something new? It's almost a rhetorical question because it would take really, really big brass to even attempt that. These characters are on lunch boxes, coloring books, under rules, all of that. They are businesses, pocket businesses. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Spider Man, so forth. So it would be very difficult to imagine shutting them down, although they would never disappear, but shutting down their publication lines and going on with something else. It would be difficult, I would say. Impossible, improbable, I would say, because of the nature of the business. But it doesn't seem to affect the manga market. You can still sell Bleach merchandise. You can still sell, in my mind anyway, Full Metal Alchemist merchandise. The volumes are still there. People know they exist, but manga is always willing to move forward. For the most part, yeah, you're gonna get extra Dragon Balls here and there, but for the most part, you have a hot run. The artist finishes what he's doing and he goes on. Personally, as a publisher myself, I have a set amount of stories that I have to tell with Intrepid. If I got a 10, 15-year run, I would be ecstatic. I would just be beside myself. That's about as far as I could take it. I wouldn't hand it on to anybody else. I just shut down shop and keep going. Same with Lightning Rod, same with Brooklyn Blair. It's a it's a shared universe, but at the same time, as the overlord of, I guess you would say, the second wave universe, I could see just shutting it down after you finish telling your stories and let somebody else have a chance to publish. Could DC or Marvel actually ever do that? My answer would be unlikely, but it would be worth exploring if you have confidence in creators to equal the output of a Jack Kirby, of a Steve Ditko, of a Stan Lee. Could there be new creators of that ilk, new masters, so to speak? They're out there. There are people create. You can look in the indie market and see that there are great creators out there, but would they ever be allowed to shine in that same spotlight? Is debatable. The only thing is, how long can you reasonably keep your main line comics going? I don't think that you can tell Superman stories for 100 years. I honestly, I don't think you can. You could try. I question the effectiveness of those stories. Now, only like 15 years left to test that theory, so we'll see soon enough. With Marvel, another 25 or so years, 25, 30 years, or 35 years or so, and we'll see. But I think at some point you're going to have to reset. You're going to have to push the reset button and come up with something else because people are not, I would say, not stupid. Eventually they'll figure it out that, you run out of ideas. And I mean, how many times can a Joker escape and, wreak havoc? Who knows? But let me know your thoughts. Let me do you think that DC, Marvel, the big two, could they ever truly reset? Could they ever really create a new universe as Jim Shooter did or attempted to do in the 80s? Again, look in the description, the link to On Likes Comics um, YouTube page, and that video that he made on Jim Shooter and the New Universe is a great watch. And let me know what you think. Until then, again, we're going to Baltimore Con in September. Check out, visit c3comics.com. Check out Intrepid. Um, it's an up and coming series. We're just hitting our prime. We're getting our stride right now. We've come out of our second story arc, first saga, and we're launching into Black Sheep Blues next year. So come down, check us out at Baltimore Comic Con in September, the 20th through the 22nd, and more big news is coming. But until then, again, let me know your thoughts. And until next time, stay loose.